It's funny, I was debating on doing this episode of the podcast right now, like this, as it is. And then, as I was trying to set this camera up, it started. Like, it almost started, and then, like, it shifted the screen, and then I thought it had started, and then it started at what you're seeing now. Is it going? So, we're going to do this. This is episode 19 of In the Image Clothing Company Podcast. Welcome. Let's get this where we want it, because I want it where I want it, and I don't always get what I want. I don't have to in this case either. But no, I feel like that's a better spot. All right. Let's address this. We are In the Image Clothing Company. Let's do an intro now that we're a minute into this. My name is Evan Strong, the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We are called In the Image Clothing Company because we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. And the reason I said it like that this time, it's a little bit like different of an intro. It's been a hard-hitting few days in the most beautiful way. And I'm going to have that be what we talk about within this episode. I'm going to give a little bit of context, a little bit of background, a little bit of understanding of what I'm saying with that. And I'm currently holding a ukulele in my hand. If you are listening to this in audio form, well, first of all, today is the 11th of December, 2024. If you're just listening to this and you can't see this, that's totally fine for the rest of the podcast episode. You're not really missing out on anything at all, but I'm holding a little blue ukulele. This little ukulele here. I have. So, yeah, we'll do a little bit of a company background as we do, and then we'll get into this episode. This is going to be awesome. It's going to be really awesome. It really is. I'm emotional already, as you could probably tell up until this point already. It's, even within that first minute, you can probably tell. I'm a little bit scattered in a good way where you're kind of, convicted and stuff. So here we go. This is, we're In the Image Clothing Company. This is In the Image Clothing Company podcast, where we have discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ. Within In the Image Clothing Company, we talk about the human body. We approach it from the skeletal system and allow it to just work through mostly clothing. There's so many imbalances within clothing and things that are just not allowing the body to do its natural thing. So we address that. I have come to the knowledge of the human body. I know how the human body works very well. Not in any kind of like look at me way, but seriously a lot better than specialists, at least on how to actually address the problems that people are having physically with their bodies. So we are all the same skeletal system connection and operation wise, unless you really do have something different, and that's fine. We've all got stuff that's slightly different, but you got a deformity, an amputation, you're missing part of your body or whatever. That's your own situation. I'm not saying we're all the same and just like, no matter what, there's no differences, but you know what I mean. Hopefully. If not, then now you probably do after I explain that. So, yeah, we let the body work. We keep clothing centered and ideally natural. Clothing needs to sit above the hips so that it's off of them, so that the hips can open and they can move and they can rotate and do their things. Slightly higher in the front than the rear. Otherwise, your core cannot stay active. And the core should always be activated. Always. The body works as a whole, okay? Top seams of the shoulders need to sit behind those little bones that are up there. That's actually the end of your collarbone. It's the other end of those collarbones. They come to your sternum, they go up to the tops of your shoulders. And so the seam sitting behind them allows your rib cage to just open up, and it allows you to have that internal rotation. And then ideally just right at the edges for those edge seams. I'm so in love with this podcast episode already. Here we go. This is the thing. 2 prerequisites to allow the body to have a chance to operate natural. And then we go into depth from there within In the Image Clothing Company content. But yes, lace your shoes with our technique. Included with the technique is just to tie them evenly over toward the inside to allow even internal rotation and activation of the arches of your feet. And the feet only work how they do, no matter who and what you are. I mean, unless you're not a human being, but I'm addressing human beings. So, second prerequisite being take all the tags out of everything, even the tongues of your shoes. And I know that sometimes they're hard to get out of the tongues of the shoes. I know that from personal experience. Sometimes I just kind of like take some scissors and put slits in them because you need some texture there, not synthetic slippery stuff within where your ankles are going to dorsiflex. And then anywhere else within clothing, they're just altering the body, causing gaps and causing slipperiness with the material that they are. So allow them to work, man. Them meaning all the parts of your body that just want to do their natural function. That's what we do at In The Image Clothing Company. So, see ya. Just kidding. Just wrap it up. Oh, gosh. Here we go, man. You know, I'm a musician, bro. And it's funny because I didn't do anything wrong. But sometimes we feel like just because things didn't work the way we thought they were going to, that we did something so wrong. I'm a musician. I'm a musician, man. Junior high school, I was, gosh, let me give like a little, this is what this is going to be geared around, is the plan that is given to each and every one of us by our God, okay? Keep that in mind with my stories that I tell within this, and, you know, we'll see some things. You'll be able to see the things that I'm seeing because I'm going to paint you a photograph through the avenue of vocal communication. So listen to this if you'd like. You're already this far into it. I'm a musician, bro. I remember junior high and I'd be walking around the hallways at school and beatboxing. Just beatboxing all the time. I kind of want to do like a sample, but I don't want it to be like, hey, welcome to my show and tell podcast. But yeah, like, I feel like I have to like prepare, but like, darn, man, it's weird to do stuff like that on the spot. But yeah, I used to beatbox. I used to walk around the hallways of school, man, and just beatbox. And like, I mean, like, I can beatbox. I can really beatbox well, actually, very well, because I've done it for like a long time. You know, things that you do a long time, usually you get better at, and I have gotten very good at beatboxing. I'm really good with tempo, even though sometimes I sound like I'm all over the place. It's because I am, but I kind of solo with stuff that I do. You know, that's the thing. Beatboxing like that, you kind of are like you're just like all over the place. You know, I'm like a mixer inside my own being, and so like there'll be a regular steady tempo. Like I hit the offbeats. I love it. I'm a little bit. I had a channel. Okay, listen to this. Actually, golly, yeah. So In The Image Clothing Company, the main channel of In The Image Clothing Company, as it is right now, as of today's date, is actually Off the Beat and Path. Not a company, a channel that I had for music a few months ago, and I played guitar, and I had guitar stuff on there, man. Freestyle rapping with guitars, you know, and had a lot of stuff going on with music at that time. So that's a little bit of background that you can only know up until this point if you've listened to In The Image Clothing Company podcast, episode 19, this one here. Anyway, I used to beatbox in high school, junior high is what I was talking about at first there. And then, you know, from then on. And a lot of beatboxing. When I got into high school, I started writing rap songs. And I, not like rap songs like, you know, some people think about like, you know, how rap started really was like rap battles. It wasn't that kind of thing, like some kind of mean thing or some like I'm better than you type of thing. I mean, that sneaks in there every once in a while, you know, pride's a sneaky thing. But no, I would write rap songs that were very motivational and very, you know, just out of what I was feeling. I was going through a lot of stuff in my teenage years. Stuff that I kind of didn't really have control over, didn't know what I could do about, and a lot of it was the environment that I was in that wasn't good. But I used to write a lot of rap songs, and then even into my early 20s, I wrote some rap songs, and yeah, I mean, I like, you know, full on produced them by myself, you know, just with what I had. But yeah, a lot of rapping, got guitars in 2022 and then into 2023, unless it was the early part of 2023, man. I don't, some of these years, the past few have been very like undistinct in my own understanding of them, even though it's my own life, you know. So lots of yeah, man, lots of music stuff that I've done personally. So I also played trumpet in junior high school. That's the only thing that I've ever been taught music wise by somebody else. Everything else I'm just self-taught. But I hear tempos and everything easy. Like if you just hit something like I don't know. I mean, like I hear something, or if you hear two beats, like I instantly hear a beat easily, and I really got a thing for music. I feel music more than anything else. I don't have to think about it. It just kind of comes out and comes through me. I've got this ukulele here, but it's probably very out of tune. And I don't know if I'm going to really be playing any of that within this. Probably not. But the point is, before I got guitars, in that time that I was saying, I had ukuleles as well. Well, it wasn't in addition to guitars at the time, because it was actually before I got guitars. But then, got guitars, man. I had 19 guitars. I didn't need 19 guitars. I knew that. I wasn't being greedy, and I wasn't thinking that I needed them. I was just trying to find something that would work for me. Listen to this. I said that twice, because here's the thing. It also reminds me of a song that a freestyle I did one time, and I said that in it, so it kind of takes me back to that. Those two times I just said then. So I play guitar. And it's funny, I got my first guitar, like I said, it was February of either 2023 or 2020. It was 2023, I guess. It's only been since 2023. It was the early part of 2023. I got my first guitar. Yes, it was. And, you know, I was up in a place up here about 45 minutes from where I currently live. Maybe, yeah, probably about 45 minutes from here. And I stopped into a music store. I didn't know why. I just knew I needed a guitar, and I sat down and I bought a steel string dreadnought guitar. And I came home, and yeah, man, I'm just gonna tell this the whole thing. Meaning, I kind of do this thing, you know, where even though I try not to be perfectionistic, especially filming videos for In the Image Clothing Company, the main videos, I like to have them really flow pretty well. So when it comes to a podcast, it's something that is something I'm working through, to not have to feel like I needed to be so flowy and stuff. And the other thing is, I'm a freestyle rapper. You know, that's something I've done so much, to where I just feel like I gotta keep things flowing, and I can't have like a break in the, you know, like a pause of silence or anything, and things have to just kind of like, I feel like everything has to just go together well. And I'm trying to not be so much that way, because that's not how we're gonna be as human beings. But man, dude, emotional, I'll tell you what. So I brought home that Johnson guitar, and I didn't tell you it was a Johnson until now. It was a Dreadnought Johnson 610N, like I think it's a JG or a JG 610N, something very similar to that, if that's not what it was called. But man, brought that thing home. I didn't really know much about it, but I knew I needed a guitar, and I had played ukulele enough, just self-taught, to where I felt comfortable with some strings in my hands. And I brought that guitar to this house where I currently live still, and you know, I started playing it, and I think it was the next day I got new strings for it. I went over to the local music store. I changed out the strings, and from that point, it was just like, all right, cool, I'm into this. Meaning, like, I have no choice. And I don't even know what's going on, because next thing you know, I'm taking the saddles off, and I'm taking the nuts off. The pieces that, you know, yeah. Anyway, you don't need to know if you don't know, but I'm taking guitars apart and, you know, replacing them, you know, because, gosh, man, this is such a real episode, man. I think you can just tell how this is me, man. Yeah, a lot of guitars will come with plastic nuts and saddles, and you can buy ones that are made out of bone, animal bone, and it just resonates better, and it sustains longer, and it just sounds better. The volume improves, and the quality of the sound is just, you know, better. So I did that, and Then next thing you know, I bought another guitar. And next thing you know, I bought another guitar. And each one that I bought, I would tear apart. I would at least put a new set of strings on it, but I'd usually do a lot of things to it, because not only changing out the saddle and the nut, but changing the angles of them. I learned so much. I learned so much. I ended up having 19 guitars within about a year and a half. Not at one time, but there were times when I had somewhere around 4 at a time. I think I had 5 at one time. Pretty sure that's the highest number. Maybe, yeah, I think 5 was the highest I had at one time. I'm pretty sure. But I'd sell some, or I'd get rid of some, or I broke some. In all transparency, I got very upset and broke some. This is a very hard time for me in my life, no matter what it seems like, because it seems very privileged to have 19 guitars. Like I said, that wasn't my plan. It wasn't me trying to, just have a bunch of things. I don't need that. But it was, I never felt right. I had this thing inside me where, man, like the first few days, even in having that first Johnson, I was like, all right, I'm gonna play guitar for the rest of my life. And I didn't know why. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know why I was saying it. But I sat there and just picked around on that thing, finger picked. I don't use an actual pick ever. And I just felt so right to be saying that I'm going to play guitar for the rest of my life. And yeah, so I had all sorts of guitars, man. And anyway, within that time period, there was a lot of crazy stuff that was happening. I founded In The Image Clothing Company right around the end of the time when I stopped playing guitars, about 4 months ago, give or take. And yeah, this is actually super emotional for me. While I was playing guitars, I was going through so much. Through my whole life, basically my whole life, I've worn oversized clothing. I pretty much always just had hand-me-downs. I didn't even know what it meant for clothing to fit. I also had so many surgeries and so many imbalances within my own body that I didn't know at all how my body even worked, or where my own center line was, or anything. I didn't know what it meant for your shoulders to be in a normal position, because I was always wearing larges or extra larges, and now I'm only bigger than at any time when I was any smaller. And meaning, I used to be shorter, and I was wearing larges and extra larges, and my size is actually medium. As if we're just talking about like shirts, that's what I wear, is mediums. So I was just wearing stuff that was so big, I couldn't breathe. I was going through so much anxiety and depression and crazy stuff throughout my upbringing, and a lot of it, like I said, was what I was around. All these things were amplifying it as far as my body's position. I got a pacemaker when I was 17, and then they took it out, and I never was able to understand that I needed to like massage out the scar tissue to get my shoulder back into a normal position, because on the same side, the left side of my body, I had a root canal in that front left tooth when I was 13, and it was so poorly done. Like, I can't express the extent of excess filling material they had on the rear of my front tooth. And so since I was 13 until now, and it's still there, it's just been, the past like little while, as I've been doing In The Image Clothing Company stuff, I've been able to sand it down in a sense by myself, by chewing on foods. It's been a whole process, man. It's been such a weird journey. So my body was in such a terrible position, and when I was playing these guitars, I didn't know what was going on, and I knew that there was some bigger message to it than just, even if I were to be a professional guitarist, I knew that there was something even bigger than that, not just like somebody who's really good at guitar being the outcome, but I could feel that there was something that was going to come through this. And so, yeah, having flat fretboard guitars, classical guitars, nylon strings, steel strings, 3/4 size, full size, dreadnoughts, concert shapes, all sorts of whatever. Seriously, I mean, just so many different guitars. And then hybrid guitars where you've got, in between. And then I learned that's what I like the best, is hybrid guitars. I like guitars that are small, even half size, as small as a half size guitar, and having a radius within the fretboard and nylon strings. I used to say this thing, I was like, I'm going to do crazy things with nylon strings. I used to have a bunch of, alliterations and stuff that I used to say like that, where I say, yeah. Pop sockets and hot pockets, dude. I used to, well, because I mean, like, just freestyle rapping and stuff. I'm really good with words. I'm really good with words. That's something that you can just see with the amount of content that I have placed, where In the Image Clothing Company podcast is alone. Even into this 20 minutes and 15 seconds at this point of this episode here, I'm really good at speaking. I'm really good with rhyming and wordplay and putting things together, and I got a quick wit. So the reason I'm saying all that is because I've just freestyle rapped so much, and it's just something that's become second nature to work words together and to hear tempos and to really feel music, and I never have to think about it. It just comes through me. And this whole time playing these guitars, I was going through torment because, like I said, about feeling like, and not even, it wasn't a feeling like I was thinking or hoping or wondering, but it was like I knew that there was something so much bigger coming through all of this, and I didn't know what it was. And when I was playing these guitars, I never felt right. And I'd noticed other people playing when I watched videos online or when I saw people in person, and it's like they didn't even actually pay any attention to the setup of their instruments or anything, and I didn't know how they were actually playing it without going nuts. But I also started tying my shoes evenly. I also I didn't found the technique people use. It's just a shoelacing technique, but I also discovered that technique being the only technique that doesn't alter your feet when it comes to shoelaces. And so after having my body in such an imbalance for so long, years of just chronic imbalances. I mean, I've mentioned that I've had heart surgeries, but yeah, 2 full open heart surgeries, my entire sternum cut open. And then on this side over here, my right side rib cage, if you're not seeing this in visual, if you're just listening, then like below my scapula, if you will, on my right side, on the side of my rib cage, it was like an 8-inch incision that I had there as well. So, I mean, my body's been through a lot physically, and then trying to play guitar and stuff, it was very uncomfortable, man. And I didn't know what was going on because I didn't know why. I was feeling like I just needed to keep trying at it and just keep pushing through it and just keep figuring out what was going on with that. And then last year, 2023, I got in this weird thing with this woman who convinced me that she loved me, or maybe convinced me that I loved her, and weird stuff, and just stuff I didn't want to have to go through. And it was stuff that sent me into this whole spiral. I left the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints because of that experience. It was ridiculous. Tried all that I could to get a hold of her and to talk through it and just to have a real civilized human being, person-to-person conversation. Never could have that happen on her end. It was absurd. I was going through a lot of stuff, and then, yeah, I was playing guitars. My body was in a bad position. Anytime I was playing flat fretboard guitars, because what we talk about within In the Image Clothing Company about needing that radius within the hand, there's that natural rounding to an open palm. I was tying my shoes and lacing them correct, and so my body was trying to be in a good position, but I was still wearing oversized clothing for a lot of that time. And then for a lot of that time, I was playing flat fretboard guitars, and it's like my physical body was in torment. And I was in this spiritual, like, demonic trap from this slut, not calling names, but the truth, this woman who tore my life up, man. And, you know, I do take accountability for believing in her words, and, you know, and I've discussed this within the podcast, but just, I can't imagine being who I am, which is so ironic. That's just how it works. You know, getting caught up with a woman like that and falling for some kind of trap like that. I am somebody who's, you know, I see relationships and dynamics and stuff, and so I just couldn't imagine that I was actually getting caught up in something like that, and it happened. It sent me into a bunch of stuff, man. And so now there I am, you know, not even a member of the church anymore, that I was born into the covenant, and I took my records out because I just was under such warfare, man, spiritual warfare, just crazy stuff going on. And, yeah, anyway, I stopped playing guitar about 4 months ago. Got rid of all my guitars, and, anyway, a little bit of time goes by. Like I said, I found it in the Image Clothing Company, and now here we are. I'm sitting here, and I have this little blue ukulele, and it's a very full circle thing. The thing that got me into guitars was ukuleles. Played so many guitars, had so many, got rid of them, and now I have another ukulele, and now I'm like, craving, and not out of a desire on my part, but it's like my spirit has opened up to, I need a guitar. I'm really good at guitar. That doesn't mean that I know how to play so many things, and I'm so perfect with blank or X or Y when it comes to playing a guitar, but I just feel it. It's so natural to me. It's a very comfortable thing, and music is something that's just inside of me. It's a huge gift that I've been given. I hadn't really approached music through something like this to that extent until I got guitars. It was mostly hearing tempos and, rapping for most of my life when it comes to music, and a lot of that was really great for me. It was a good outlet. It was a lot of good messages. I remember, I was working at a grocery store in my late teenage years, and I wrote some rap songs that actually really helped some of the people that I was in a supervising position at the time, and really motivational, good stuff. Actually, really good stuff. So it's really strange to come full circle. It's really weird because now I'm going to Institute, and I getting ready to reinstate my records when February comes around. You have to wait a year. There's a year hiatus period thing. That's the word I use. But when you do, for whatever reason, have your records removed or do it your own self or get excommunicated or whatever the situation could be. So that will be February 2025 for me when I am allowed to reinstate my records. And it's been a weird thing, all of this, that I never could have predicted, never could have actually even imagined happening. But here's the thing is, like I was saying about how weird it was to me that I just was saying that I was going to play guitar for the rest of my life. I knew it. I'm going to play guitar for the rest of my life. It's really weird, man. Having this ukulele for the past 3 days. I got it on Monday. Today's Wednesday. It brings a light to me. Inside me, I feel the light is what I mean. And it's so weird, man. I remember some of those guitars that I did play, even though like within it was mixed all this weird stuff because of the guitar itself, because of my body's position, because of the warfare that I was under, because of getting caught in this woman. Gosh, man, people are like black holes, man. People are terrible. There's something about music, dude. I don't even know how to explain it because, gosh, I can just sit there with the guitar in my hands, and I feel something. At Institute tonight, we were talking about the temple, man, and I've never actually been within a dedicated temple. I had a temple recommended very briefly right before I got in this relationship with this woman, and then I didn't even end up going to the temple before Dude, I'm not blaming her, but gosh, I don't want that but to be a justification either. It was her though, man. She did some, she was allowing herself to be used by the enemy. That's what she was doing. So, man, dude, I mean, I got some evil spirits put inside me in that time. I did. I wasn't as discerning as I should have been. Man. I've never been inside of a dedicated temple, but I can feel it, I've been inside some open houses. That's what I was saying at Institute tonight with people there. And even in the open house, it's, you feel the spirit like crazy. So when I'm holding the guitar, man, how real can I get with this, man? I'm gonna just kind of lay back because I feel the spirit, man, in a whole different kind of way. And a lot of times you just feel stuff you don't know how to explain, warfare wise. You don't know why things are going on. You don't know why things feel so right. But then within that, you're just being so battled, and so you get deceived, man. And I mean, if I were to start to actually tell the stories, I'm not like hiding or holding anything back. I just mean, there's so many stories about within the past year and a half, man, just what my life's been and looked like. And I've been through some crazy stuff in my life. My parents divorced and all the, physical health stuff I talked about. And, I pretty much never had a permanent home because every other weekend for years we were going back and forth. And I grew up with, being at my dad's girlfriend's houses and her family's houses and just kind of being dragged around. I've been through a lot, man, but this last year and a half was like an entirely different kind of thing. It was very weird to experience. So, long story short, we are still in the Image Clothing Company. I'm not like saying, oh, by the way, I figured out that I'm going to be a guitarist instead, so we're not going to have a clothing company. No. But it's funny because it was in November, I created a whole place for In the Image Clothing Company music. And what I had up until I got this ukulele placed where that is freestyle raps over other people's beats. And, I was like, all right, cool. How are we going to really incorporate this music with a clothing company? But no, it's making so much more sense. Talk about a full circle moment. Talk about, I'm going to say this a third time. Listen to this. My body was in such a bad position, okay? And I had been through a lot, so I got a lot of personal experience about patternings. I got a lot of personal experience about repercussions from surgeries. I've got a lot of personal experience on a lot of things. I worked a lot of physical jobs and had a lot of pain. I did a lot of parkour, had a lot of stuff that I did to my body that was a little bit abrupt to it that, a lot of flips and stuff. And so a lot of personal experience with that stuff. When I was playing guitars in this time period I'm talking about, that's actually when I started to mess with collar seams. We have the dreaded collar seam modification that we have that I coined the term, if you will, for In the Image Clothing Company. And like I said, that's when I started with the shoelacing. So, and barefoot shoes. While I was going through this torment of knowing I needed to play guitar but not knowing why, there's so much about my clothing. It was driving me nuts. I'd be, wearing a strap for guitar and my shirt would be slipping around. It's like I couldn't breathe. I couldn't hold my arms in the right position to play a guitar. I was also playing a full-size guitar, which I discussed is too big for anybody, man. Unless you're extremely tall and lanky, like extremely, like 8 foot plus. You can't play a full-sized guitar comfortably and actually have your body in a neutral, normal, natural, centered position with it activated and just working how it would. I talk about that, and I will always stand on that till the day I die. It's just how it is, man. You can see it. I have an eye for patternings within people and, what people's bodies are doing. Again, I know the body very, very well. But I was wearing oversized clothing. I was playing guitars that were just so damaging to my body as well. And in this time, those two things were so, so, so connected. Clothing and guitars. Weird for a lot of people. If you wouldn't think of that, I probably would have never been able to even think about that unless I had gone through what I did. So here's the thing. In the Image Clothing Company, it's going to be really cool because we're going to be able to help a lot of people with instruments, with playing instruments. I went through what I've been saying this within videos that I've been making recently. I've gone through what I have had to go through to know what I now know. So when I say the things like I know what I'm talking about, I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody. I don't need anyone to believe me. I mentioned how I don't believe anything. I am an avid, I don't know how to word that. I don't want it to sound silly. I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I know that he lives. I know that he is here and ever present, but I don't believe in anything. And I've gone into that within podcast episodes. Here's the thing. It's going to be really cool to be able to mix the gospel in with everything we do, to have our bodies be able to be in a natural position and to be able to make music through that and in that and with that. And it's going to be just amazing, okay? To have this whole trifecta. And that's the thing, trinities within the gospel, the Holy Trinity. We have 3 avenues of approaching In the Image Clothing Company as a whole and as what it is. We've got In the Image Clothing Company music, In the Image Clothing Company podcast, and then In the Image Clothing Company, the main avenue, addressing the human body and addressing clothing, being a clothing company. So, I'm a musician, man, and I don't have to be trying to figure out how I'm going to mix that with In the Image Clothing Company, and that's kind of the thing is, growing up, dude, I've done so many things. I get good at stuff quick. I learn things quick, but then I don't care about it in a very short amount of time and I move on to something else. Music's something that I have never left. There's nothing I've done that with. Nothing. I got so into biking and so into, I could just label everything, But really I did. I mean, there's a lot of things where it's not just like I was, kind of interested in it, but I got so, I got good at it. Things I did daily and really got good at and really spent so much time doing and learned so much about and just delved so deeply into. And all those things are in my past. Music's something that has never left. It can't. So, In the Image Clothing Company isn't going to leave either. It can't, because it's something that I know. It's something that again, it's not like I have this belief that I need to do something. And I'm not mocking people if they have that approach to life, but I do not. Okay? I've seen enough. I've been through enough garbage and trash and worldly things where I don't care about these little worldly... I don't care about beliefs. I don't care about caring about things as far as worldly things. I don't. I do not. But I will always be a disciple of Jesus Christ. I'm nothing without him. He created me. I can't even decide to do that or not without just damning myself to hell. Literally, that's not some kind of like bad word if you don't know what I'm saying. Okay, here's the thing. In the Image Clothing Company, we only have this one body. In this physical life, this is our life, is our bodies. We are spirit children of our living God, and we go on, and we were before this life. Just as our God has and is one eternal round, he is the beginning and the end, the Alpha and the Omega. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He never ceases. He is all. He created all. We, in a very similar way, will go on after this life. But in this physical life, because as well as going on with, being spirit children, we also will have our physical bodies resurrected. But in this life here, this is all we got. Okay? If you don't have this, you don't have the life that we know as this physical life on this earth here in fleshly form. Sinful by nature, human beings. Yes. So, clothing is just what we do as humans. It's what we wear. Even if you don't have any kind of belief about being modest or whatever, or if you don't think that you need to be modest, or you feel like you want to be all free and, loosey and this and that, and I'm just being real. Everybody wears clothing. You have to. You got to be protected in some degree from the sun, from the weather, from all these things. In the Image Clothing Company is something that helps every single human that exists, because we discuss truth about the anatomy of the human body and what clothing does to it, that applies to every single human that will ever exist, okay? And through that, we are going to be making music. I'm going to be making music. I'm going to be making music. No matter how much I did. Well, this is a weird thing, because the past few months I've had a lot of repentance about, gosh, and I don't want to be afraid of saying something here as if I'm saying something wrong, because I've had a lot of repentance in the past few months about the way that I approached music. But I can't leave music. I can't. It's not because I want it so bad. Again, I'm not mocking people for having those views, but I don't have those views, man. My whole approach on this existence that I've been given is, Father, this is yours, because it is. No matter what I want, it's not up to me. And I can't leave music. Music is stuck to me, man. It's within me, like I was saying. So here's the thing. I'm going to get another guitar. Right now I don't have a job. I haven't had a job in quite a while. Okay? Not because I can't work, not because I'm not a good worker, but just, it's been such a weird time in my life, such a transformational thing. I've been going through a lot of garbage that I'm not saying is like a bad thing or shouldn't have happened, but it's a lot of stuff that I don't want to have to deal with. But hey, if I'm supposed to, I'm supposed to. It's not an if. And that's the thing, is seeing all the learning that I've been able to go through with it, or have as I've been able to go through all this. A lot of prayer, man, a lot of weird stuff. I mean, I left the church, like, what? Crazy things, man. But it's, I don't want to get into debates about, if our God does things like that on purpose, or if things that we do, he just uses after we've done them. But there's a theme of necessary separation within Scripture. Peter denying Christ 3 times within the Bible, but being like his right-hand disciple. Not that he has favorites, we are all equals, but Alma the Younger within the Book of Mormon, going around with the sons of Mosiah, and pulling people away from the true church, away from God, away from the commandments, and then ending up being one of the biggest prophets within the Book of Mormon as far as impact goes. Alma the Younger. Things like that, where there a lot of times when I say necessary separation, I don't mean that if people don't have this experience, they can't have an impact. I just mean a lot of times you see that where people who have this whole like separation, hiatus kind of thing. I like that word a lot, hiatus. Um, they end up coming back like twice as strong and things. So yeah, yes, I mean that happens very often, and I am experiencing that myself. And I didn't plan it, I didn't do it. Even if I did some things that ended up being the repercussions coming from what I did that were like actual mistakes on my part. This whole thing is a plan. This whole thing as a plan is what I said. Is not something that I have done, and people like to say you got to plan things, man. And I'm gonna beg to differ because our God is in charge. And so, yeah, here's the thing. Music is something that I am. Did you hear that correct? It's like I am music. Music comes through me in a different kind of way than I could explain, and it's not even a desire of mine. It's just something that just happens. It's something that is me. So I'm going to be playing music, man, and I don't like paperwork, okay, at all. When I was mentioning how like when I haven't had a job for as long as I have, it's not because I'm not a good worker, a hard worker, like I'm not smart or whatever. No, man, I used to work myself to death, and I'd be the hardest worker at the places that I was at, and I just waste my time, working at some just garbage joint. I'm not, being ungrateful for the jobs I was able to have for what they did provide for me, but in all seriousness, really, I was just wasting my time at those jobs, working myself away. I was probably one of the hardest workers there, and yeah, my bosses liked me. Yeah, I got raises and compensations when they could and how they could, and that was, they really were doing what they could. But the reason I haven't worked and the amount of time that I have is not because I can't, not because I couldn't hold down a job, not because whatever, but I don't care to do paperwork. This is kind of a side note. I'm kind of just on to something else now, with just giving a little bit of context with that. But I'm gonna be running In the Image Clothing Company, and this is my thing, as in this is mine. I mean, it's not. It's. I'm not in charge of it, but I'm in charge of it. You know what I mean? And that's why it's like this whole paradox, man, where I don't know what to do with it. As far as I'm just going to continue doing what I'm doing with it, but I don't like paperwork. I don't like to have to like do this whole corporate run a company thing and do all this legal stuff and garbage. I just want to be a human being. I just want to hang out and deliver truth to people and help people with things. So I've never run a company though. And so maybe it's not even going to be anything like I'm worried about. And that's the other thing too, is all the repentance for just worrying about stuff that I don't know what I'm doing yet, and stuff that hasn't even happened yet. I'm sitting there all worried about it, and I'm like getting hit with that. Yeah, I gotta repent for that kind of stuff, and I am as that happens. So, because I talk about bringing people on the team, and we will. I mean, I can't run a company alone. I never was planning to. I'm not planning to. I won't. We'll have a team, and so the team will be able to do the things, all the legal stuff, ideally, I don't have to mess with, man. I just gotta keep us centered, and be the person that's, because I'm the one coming in with, it's my company in the sense of like, I'm the human being who's being the vessel to have this company be something in this earthly form. And what I'm saying with that is, I'm gonna be doing a lot of music, and I'm going to just be delivering what I need to when I need to. And we're going to have awesome clothing, man. When I say awesome clothing, I don't mean like go walk down a runway in our stuff. I mean, hey, it's like a warm hug is the way that I want it to be approached. Like, put this stuff on and just live your life. Stop trying to battle your clothes. That's what I did for 24 years. Into my 25th year of life, I was battling my clothing, and I was just struggling to work when the body's designed to. So our clothing will be awesome, because I'm not going to even allow things to be put out by In The Image Clothing Company ever if they're not really great for the body's function. However it looks, that's a whole separate question. We're here to let the body work. We're here to allow our vessel, being this fleshly body that we've been given, take us through this life, through the things that we are here to do. That's what In The Image Clothing Company is. And so it's not so much about like sitting there in a design room or like having a pad and like trying to make it all like fashion worthy runway type designs. That is not what In The Image Clothing Company is or ever will be. I want to make that so clear. I've made that very clear since the start. It's about just letting the body work. And so there's not going to be so much focus on like upgrading designs and all this stuff. It's not. It's going to be so simple. And so that's actually like easing my own worries as I'm saying that, because I almost forget that, man. I'm almost tearing up again because that's what it is, bro. I mean, I don't care about keeping up with trends of the world with fashion. I don't care about fashion at all. I mean, I got my own way of wearing clothes, but I don't care about fashion, man. I want that to be how this always is. I want to be held accountable for that as well. We're just doing things that are simple, plain, allowing just the least amount of restriction we can get within our bodies. So I think that's something that's so reassuring to me, is it's not going to be anything complicated or complex. You know, you see a couple companies and a couple designs that have been the same for so long, you know, like a pair of sweatpants or a pair of, or like a hoodie, or certain things from certain brands that have been just about the exact same for decades because they're good and they don't need to be tweaked and altered. That's what we're going to do. And so then there's not going to be much that has to even be done. We'll have it available and we'll just mention it within the things that we do, and so that people can know about it and be helped. It's not so that we can have sales, because it's not about money. It's just so that we can help people's physical bodies work. And then as we do that, I'm going to be making music. We're going to be sharing and spreading the gospel across the globe. I cannot get South Africa out of my mind. South Africa is this southern part of Africa. And I don't know why, but I just can't get South Africa out of my mind. Maybe I'll never go, but maybe I'm going to spend quite a bit of time there or something. We'll see what happens. And I just felt like I needed to mention that. So, like, I think the reason is because I just have, you know, I'm going to be playing a little guitar. So I can take my guitar with me wherever I go. If I ever leave and never even leave the United States of America, or if I start traveling a lot. Wherever I go, in playing music, we're going to be spreading the gospel. I forgot what I was saying. Wearing clothing. Just like anywhere I go, my own person, because I've discussed that within In The Image Clothing Company, like main content for the human body function type area of things. I've discussed how our bodies and the position they're in, the way that they're able to stand and open and just be natural, are going to be the proof of our company. It's not our clothing, but our clothing is just what's going to allow that to happen. So, yeah, that's the thing, is everywhere I'm going, my body will just work to the best of what I can allow it to do at any age, even if I'm older, you know. And so that'll be the pudding that the proof is in, is my physical body's workings to the best of what I can. And especially because I've talked about this, you know, it's so great that I've had the background that I have with the physical health complications, if you will, because that's even more of a testament. So a testimony, again, for the glory of our God. It's not about me, because I didn't design my body, and you didn't design yours, and I didn't design anybody else's. It's about our God. So going all over the world, man, and it's funny because I feel like I'm going to, you know, I say maybe never leaving the country, but I feel like I'm going to be ending up in places, man, on different parts of the globe. We can share information. It's the simple things. It's showing people about the dreaded collar seam modification. It's showing people how to lace and tie their shoes. Correct. It's showing like this, our zipper modification and things like that are going to change people's lives, and showing, you know, where clothing needs to sit, as I discuss I try to say within every video that I make for In The Image Clothing Company. And then within that, we'll be spreading the gospel, making music, doing things. This is what's so cool about this, is what I was saying about when I said I was going to play guitar for the rest of my life. I didn't even know what I was saying. I don't know what I'm saying within this. And I'm so content with that. I don't want to ever try to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. If I know what I'm talking about, I know what I'm talking about. And when words are just flying out of my mouth like this isn't some hope or desire for like a world traveling gig that I'm like hoping to have. No, That's why I say so clearly, I don't have beliefs, I don't have hopes, I don't have desires. Well, I mean, I get those, I'm a human being, but ideally, I don't ever try to like hold on to any kind of desire that I have. I really don't care about that stuff. I want the will of God, okay, to be happened through me. I don't mean to be so like, I don't mean to be forceful or stern with that. I just mean it, man. And the reason why I'm like so hitting that hard with what I'm saying and like, you know, those two things together is because I don't have some kind of like big dreams to travel the world. I don't have some kind of big dreams to have a big clothing company. I don't have some kind of big dreams for anybody to know my name. I don't care about those things. But there's certain things that you just know. When I mentioned that actually the main channel for In The Image Clothing Company is actually still in some form of it, I see it when I pull it up and I'm like uploading videos, it's still titled Off the Beat and Path. That's what I titled my guitar channel. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can't leave something that's for you. As long as you're trying to have the will of God be happened through you, you can't leave it. Even if you can leave the church, even if you can take your records out of the true church, even if you can go off the path. It's funny because off the beat and path. I've got this whole thing about imperfect music. We are imperfect people. That's how my music will always be as well. So today's date, December 11th, 2024, episode 19 of In The Image Clothing Company Podcast, where I say I'm a musician, you know. Come back to this if you'd like to someday when I talk about imperfect music. I've been saying that for a year and a half at least since I started playing guitar, but even back when I was rapping, a lot of it was off tempo and stuff, but some of it was intentional as well. We're imperfect people. Perfectionism is going to get you nowhere besides self-destruction. So, yeah, we're going to just make some music. That's what I'm saying. There's a photo of a temple up here, actually the Payson Temple, very close to where I live. I keep looking at this. I keep feeling this. That's the thing is, you can't leave something that is for you as long as you are trying to be obedient to God's will. That doesn't mean that you can't backslide or that you can't take some kind of crazy roundabout way of getting there out of your own doing. But here's the thing, and I don't want to say anything out of my own belief, right? But I don't think that this was unintentional. I don't think that this was just, I mean, yeah, I messed up a lot within this, but I don't think this was me messing up. Having my records removed? I don't. Okay? And that's not me just trying to think something, trying to excuse my behavior, none of that garbage. I don't. Because reading scripture and seeing stuff like that where you come back stronger, man. Again, it's not saying that people can't be a certain amount of impactful or something if they haven't had this separation period. But I mean this with zero ego in it. I know that I'm set apart in a very big way. I've been told that. I've been told that through revelation. I have been told that, and I'm just different, man. I'm different. It comes with a lot of struggles. It comes with a lot, you know, it comes with a lot of preparation period as far as a lot of things like within my upbringing, like I've discussed, that I had to deal with and go through to get the perspective and understanding that I have now. But man, I'm just set apart, bro, and I just nothing you can do about it. It's not a bad thing. It's just it's a big thing. Yeah, it is. And yeah, I know that it was intentional for my records to be removed the way that I mean, I was the one that wrote the letter to the bishop, you know, and asked for it to happen, and you know, but I know, as much as I was the one that got myself into situations, at the same time I know that it was destined. I'm not trying to say that out of some kind of thing. I mean it. I know it. I couldn't have gained the perspective that I could have. You can't. I'm not trying to say anybody's going to have any kind of less of impact than me, or I'm not trying to put myself above in any way. But you can't. I mean, there's people who've had such an impact on me in my life, and they couldn't have if they hadn't have gone through what they did. I couldn't have had this perspective unless I had gone through what I did. And you know, it's not something I ever would have imagined happening, having my records removed. And people who aren't members, man, they probably don't even see how that could be a big deal, you know? And they're like, it's just an organization. And, you know, I was the one saying that. I was the one slandering the church. I was the one saying some terrible things. Man, I mean, yeah. It's not up to me. It's not, man. I can't stop playing music. I can't leave the church without coming back, you know? I mean, some things just, we don't have any say over anything really, but some things you really got no say over in a whole different kind of level. And that's how this kind of stuff is, man. And in the Image Clothing Company, I don't care if it seems like, you know, we go months or however long at a time without even like mentioning clothing in a way that seems like a clothing company would be talking about clothing. If we're doing mostly music in certain times, or if we're doing mostly music, I was going to try to add something else to like say it could be this or that. But no, I mean, I feel like we're going to do so much music stuff. I mean, I had a looper and I was making beats. I mean, I can beatbox so well. And so I was making my own beats and then rapping over them or playing guitar over them with a little looper pedal and an amp. I mean, because I just haven't even realized certain things have happened. And I was the one experiencing them. I mean, I bought this little truck and I was carrying guitars around and I had amps. And I was taking guitars basically everywhere I went. And I was, like I said, I had that channel where I was placing videos titled Off the Beat and Path. And I would go to parks and sit outside and play guitar for people. I mean, not really intentionally like going up to people to play, but like I was just playing in public at guitar at parks. I was good. Even if I like never really played very much like music, it just comes so natural. Stuff like this is just so weird to look at. I've been thinking about that like the past year and a half. It doesn't seem like it actually happened. And oh boy, did it. Because I got the memories when I sit there and think about it and realize what really happened. So in the Image Clothing Company, I feel like I'm going to mention, gosh. We're going to get out of this country, bro. Not that I'm trying to like leave the country. If that never happens, then shoot, I don't know. But I can't stop seeing myself going to places for big reasons, for reasons to help people, not just so I can have a fun, like, experience. No, man, I don't care. That's what I mean. I don't care, man. I don't care if I never got to leave a single room. If I was locked into some dungeon, I lived most of my